Welcome back to the series. This is a series on React CRUD application building, and CRUD stands for Create, Read, Update, and Delete. And this CRUD will happen with a headless CMS at the backend. In this case, that one is WordPress. In our last few videos, we just covered different type of paginations, and now we're back to our main blog index file. And this time we're going to go ahead and talk about layouts. We're going to implement the card layout from React Bootstrap and the Masonry layout, because I'm going to show you some of the drawbacks that this card layout may bring. And in the end, we're going to talk about the load page again, because last time I showed you how to build it, but this time I'm going to go ahead and show you how I refactored it and turned this load more into a reusable component so that it can be plugged into any data index file of our choice. So let's get started. All right, so this is our WordPress Headless CMS. This is the WordPress installation in the backend. This is where we're collecting the data from. And this is React Bootstrap. And this is where I'm getting the card layout from, the component. These are a little bit fancier, but I'm just using a very simple one, this guy right here. Now you may ask, if this is just a copy paste, why am I even doing this video, right? Not so fast. Let me show you. Let's go to the code. All right, so I'm going to first start with the homepage component. It's a basic page component. I have two custom layout components, page and the content here, and the rest coming from the React Bootstrap. And most importantly, we're bringing in the blog index, which we will cover next. But quickly, I just wanted to show you, this is what the content layout component looks like, and this is what the page component looks like. And I have actually described this in detail in the previous videos. Please feel free to look at them if you are curious. Now let's go and look into the real focus of this video, which is our blog index. I'm starting with the basic React stuff, and then the loading spinner. And most importantly, this is the one, the WAPI library, which actually helps us pulling all the data out. And this parse, HTML parser, I'm using because, well, I'll get to that shortly. And animate.css, it's for basic animation, but I'm not using just yet. They're coming up also. At the very beginning, we are using the WP-API library to create this object. These are the credentials. And then we have a bunch of constants. Most important one is the post. This will have all of our data. Is pending is the one used for the loading spinner. And the rest of them you've already seen if you're continuing with the series. These are all for the pagination. So this is not the focus of this video. And in here, this is the fetch post, which is helping us collect all the posts, which I have described before in the previous one. So we're not gonna go over that. And use effect, same thing. And we have also the delete post, load more, handle more, all these for the pagination, which I described in detail in the last video. What we're gonna look at is here, this section right here. What we're gonna do, now it looks like this. We're going to go ahead and replace this. All right, now these are complaining about these components because we haven't been loading it up at the top. So let's go grab this guy, copy that and paste it right here. And one extra component we're going to be bringing from React Bootstrap is card. Save it again. Now you see nothing, no other complaints happening here. In fact, we can probably get rid of these guys. Just a distraction at the moment. Okay, so now that we have our card component, card layout all set, let's go check it out. All right, so this is our new look and feel. Let's see what it does for load more. Yeah, it's okay. But let me show you an issue though. If you look closely here, you will see that I'm using that HTML parser, which is from right here. And this is being used because when WordPress sends you the data, for example here, and if you look into the content and content.rendered, and you see it's coming in with some HTML tags already in it, right? Because of that, when we parse this, it cleans it out. It renders the HTML instead of showing it. But now you may ask why I'm using all of a sudden a div here instead of the card component, card.text, right? So let me show you why. Let's disable this part and enable this part. Save it. Let's go. And now you see all the HTML is still showing up, right? So that's why we have the parse library, right? So let's just implement it right now. Parse, save, go back. Yeah, it looks all right, but look at this, huge error. Now it's complaining because it is finding p tags to be a children of p tags, which is a no-no in React, right? It cannot have the same thing as a child item, right? And if you look closely, you'll see that in here inside card body we have card text, which is this guy right here, card.text, which already coming with a p tag. But then if you look inside, this is what WordPress is giving us, another p tag, and these are two colliding with each other, thus this error. For that reason, I had to disable this and bring in my own HTML instead of because I know automatically p will be here, so I'm wrapping it with div. And now if we refresh, no more errors, and we got exactly what we wanted, right? So this is problem number one with this card layout. I mean, especially with the React Bootstrap one, right? But here's the other one. If you look here, you'll see it's working nicely. Every time all this works nice, right? But all the image size are exactly the same. The text character limit exactly the same. This we may be able to control because we are just calling in the excerpt, right? With WordPress, no problem. But it is not always possible to control the image sizes, right? So let me show you what exactly happens. I mean, right now, if we go bigger, it's nice and responsive, no problem. New set comes along. I mean, even though there's a slight gap here, I mean, these gaps are not matching, still it's okay. That's why for rapid prototyping, or if you have just text-based data which you have full control over, what the size is going to be or character limits, then it's okay. But what happens is, if I have a whole bunch of posts here with images. So I'm going to go ahead and enable them, and they are of different sizes and shapes, which will happen in the real world scenario. I'm just going to go ahead and publish them. All right, now let's go back and refresh. Look at that. Your whole layout is now broken. Except for the smallest screen. Other than that, it is almost unusable. Okay, and that's why, as a remedy, I would like to bring in the Masonry layout. Now here, this is not implemented yet. That's why it's still broken. It is still using the exact same thing. I just wanted to show you the difference once I implement it. So now both of them using the exact same code. So I'm going to go ahead and update this code to Masonry. Okay, before I get to the code, I just wanted to show you, this is the library I'm actually using, React-Masonry.css. You'll find all sorts of examples and stuff here. So let's go to my code. All right, and in here I'm just going to go ahead and first enable these libraries. This is the Masonry.css. I'm bringing in Masonry and I'm using an SCSS file, which is right here. This is actually, I could not use directly. I had to play around with it a lot. Feel free to examine them and, play around with your own. Now let's go back. And I'm also bringing in the animate.css that will give us some basic animations. So at this point, all my constants are the same. And one extra thing I had to do for my Masonry layout is that I had to set these breaking points. And this is something that I had to do some trial and error. You according to your own content, you get to tell it like what's going to happen. Like default is 4, but once it reaches 1500 pixel, it will give you 3 column, 1100 2 column, and 700 1 column. So this is just with my content, I played around and came up with these numbers. So, and the rest is just the same, pulling in the data. What's going to happen is in here, right now it's using the basic card layout, but I'm going to go ahead and replace this with this. Save it. Now let's go back. Look at that. Everything is now in shape, and all the column gaps are exactly perfect. Look at that. It has this animation. Animate.css is doing that, and at the same time this is fully responsive, and it doesn't matter what your image size is, large or content size, doesn't matter. It's always going to look perfect. So now let's go analyze the code a little. This is the basic the posts that we have, we're looping through and showing the data, right? And using the parse and everything that I showed before. But now I just wrapped this whole thing with this Masonry component. And in this one, it takes this class name and the column class name. These are already given by the documentation, and this breakpoints is coming from this object right here that we just created, and that's what makes it multi-screen capable, fully responsive. And with these classes, this is where I actually provide the CSS. The base ones are given, and then I have just like this box shadow, this column width, this, that, the other, I've just changed. I mean, this background was something else. I turned it into transparent. Basically, I took Bootstrap card and took the Masonry's column and pressed them together so that they all look like one. And that completes my layout section. But now, before I finish this video, I'm just gonna go over this load more functionality and how I made it into a component and reused it here. Don't go anywhere. All right, so welcome back to this load more pagination. Just the previous video was all about this one. Like in one page, had all the code, and it was pretty ugly. So this time I'm going to go ahead and show you that how I refactored it. Took this load more and turned this into a separate component, and eventually used it here on this one, and it worked perfectly. Now let's go to the code. All right, so now I brought in this load more pagination component, and this is our layout Masonry page where we were just there. This is our component, and we're calling it load more pagination. In this one, what I'm doing is I took that load more function, completely separated, and brought it out into this so that it will no longer clutter the page itself. Like in here, this is where I implemented it. So in here you see just use effect, which is collecting data, and simply the handle more, right? But from here though, I'm exporting this function, right? I'm exporting it, and I'm also, my default export is the actual button, the load more button. So the load more button and this extra function, they're both separated out into this component. So now in here, if you go at the bottom, you see a nice one-liner. Load more pagination component is just simply calling the handle more, and in here a whole bunch of things happening. But what's happening also is that I am calling this load more, but this is no longer on the same page, because from this load more pagination component I'm actually importing the default one and this load more post function. This function and the default would be this actual component, load more. Almost like here from a React library, you get this React component and all the helper functions separately, right? Exactly like right here. So right now I have no extra clutter. That's the refactoring of the old load more, and that's all for this video. If you like it, please smash the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button and the subscribe button. This will help me bring more free contents like this to you every week. Thanks again.